Hey everyone, welcome to Turkish series stars. All the details are in our video. Please remember to subscribe to our channel and share this video before we dive in. Thank you for being here. The rumor mill has been rattling loudly, and this time the spotlight falls directly on Ozan Baba. He is famously careful about drawing a curtain over his private life, known for arriving early on set and leaving the drama at the studio door. But the latest whispers have a different edge. Marriage talk, separation talk, and the quiet suggestion that something deeper is unfolding just out of sight. Then, an understated behind-the-scenes detail began echoing across the corridors of the industry. A single name, supposedly mentioned by a lawyer close to the couple, is said to have reshaped the conversation from top to bottom. It started subtly. For weeks, maybe longer, fans noticed Ozan Baba and Sinem weren't being photographed together at the usual premieres, charity galas, or cozy weekend posts. Their social media timelines became carefully curated islands, work here, a brand project there, without the casual glimpses of shared mornings or late-night movie shots that used to appear without fanfare. Separate arrivals at public events, a few solo red carpets, and muted captions stirred a single phrase among those who pay attention to these details: amicable separation. It sounded civilized, almost coordinated. But then the tranquility cracked. According to the chatter, a lawyer who has been advising the pair during a confidential process let slip a name within a very tight inner circle. That slip, real or embellished by the time it traveled from ear to ear, has been pegged as the real breaking point. The person connected to this name is not a star, not a familiar face to magazine covers, not even someone with a flashy public profile. The claim is that it's someone both Ozan and Sinem have known a long time, someone who blended into their routine with the ease of trust, dropping by sets with coffee, helping with schedules, showing up at gatherings where nobody kept count. And just like that, speculation caught fire. It's essential to stress: there are no formal accusations, no official declarations, and nothing that stands as hard proof. Everything buzzing right now is built on rumor, the kind that multiplies in silence. Two competing explanations keep surfacing. The first says that the so-called third person didn't create the fracture but accelerated a communication breakdown that was already in motion. The second points to the relentless pace of the business. Back-to-back shoots, flights that blur weeks, and those long stretches where video calls replace real conversations. If you ask people close to the situation, many say Baba's laser focus on work, a trait fans admire, took its toll at home over time. That's the thing about famous couples and quiet seasons. Silence is read in two ways. Either the relationship is winding down peacefully with mutual respect, or both sides are trying to limit the wildfire effect that public comment can cause. Given how Ozan has handled personal matters before, the latter interpretation gets more nods. He has always avoided turning his private life into fuel for clicks. For her part, Sinem has been equally guarded lately, preferring to let her roles and projects speak for her while leaving everything else on mute. People close to the couple are wary of the increasingly theatrical narratives. Their version is simpler, and in a way more heartbreaking. They describe accumulated strain, not a loud collapse. A shift in priorities that began as a tiny wobble and expanded into a season where the two people at the center of the story stopped sinking. The name the lawyer purportedly mentioned splits opinions even inside that circle. Some insist it's an innocent detail that spiraled into confusion. Others say it's merely the visible clue to a larger, older disconnection. In a world where every new whisper becomes a headline, truth often slips through the cracks. For now, one fact is undeniable: neither Ozan Baba nor Sinem has made an official statement. And that single fact keeps everyone guessing. One sentence from either of them could seal this topic shut or fling open a new chapter. Until that moment comes, the conversation keeps expanding, feeding on the gaps. As the behind-the-scenes talk grew more tangled, a different picture started to emerge. One that suggests the end, if there is one, didn't revolve around a solitary event. Sources who claim proximity to the situation describe a gradual cooling. They talk about endless night shoots, sudden location changes, rehearsals that stretch toward morning, and obligations that leave little oxygen for anything else. What outsiders once labeled temporary fatigue might have evolved into an erosion of shared rituals. No more late-night recipe experiments, fewer lazy Sundays with a favorite series, a lot of polite rescheduling of us time until it barely existed at all. In that retelling, the mysterious name is more catalyst than cause, a match held near kindling that was already dry. There's also a counterpoint you can't dismiss. Not every stretch of silence hides a scandal. Some say Ozan and Sinem have simply been doing their best to honor a bond that doesn't deserve public dissection. A mature, quiet decision to handle things with care can easily be mistaken for secrecy. And somewhere in the middle of all that, the lawyer's whispered word, whether real or exaggerated, morphed into a stand-in for things the couple never intended to share. So where do things truly stand? The honest answer is that we don't know. Ozan remains anchored to his sets, scripts, and call sheets, letting the day's work absorb his attention. Sinem's posture is similar. She's been channeling energy into performances, partnerships, and charitable appearances, carefully keeping her tone gracious and measured. Depending on who you ask, their silence is either a subtle denial or a boundary. To some it reads like nothing to see here, to others like we choose not to perform our pain. This is the awkward reality of celebrity gossip, most of what circulates reflects only fragments. At present, the only solid ground is the absence of an official statement. If or when it arrives, and from which of them, will determine the momentum of this narrative. Until then, the story keeps moving on its own, powered by inference. People will fill in blanks with their own experiences, biases, and hopes, and that's how myths begin. Meanwhile, the industry has been paying attention to more than just the couple. Friends who share tables with both sides seem to have adjusted their rhythms. Invitations have been trimmed to avoid awkward overlaps. Seating charts are suddenly neat and diplomatic. Public appearances are spaced out so that red carpets tell their own calm story. If anything, this choreography signals sensitivity more than guilt, an attempt to keep the temperature low, to let whatever is happening take shape without forcing anyone into a public corner. Among those who know them, a single refrain has been repeated with quiet conviction: this isn't a fight, it's exhaustion. That line is important. It pushes back against the idea of villains and victims. As for the name that's being passed from one whisper to the next, there's a growing belief that it may be getting amplified beyond its importance. Maybe someone unrelated to the deeper issues was pulled into the theater by accident. In this industry, a stray phrase can be plucked from context and turned into a plot all by itself. The true weight of that whispered detail might only be understood if and when the silence breaks. For now, it hangs like a shadow, present, heavy, but formless. Through all of this, one thing keeps appearing in every conversation about Ozan Baba: professionalism. Co-stars say his preparedness hasn't faltered. He hits his marks, knows the text, and brings the same intensity that made audiences notice him in the first place. And the sentiment about Sinem is virtually identical. People who've worked with her in recent months describe her as focused, respectful on set, and strikingly thoughtful in moments where tensions might otherwise spike. Because of that, many observers have settled on the idea that, if a separation is underway, it's being handled deliberately. Not a crash, but a glide. Some say the two even tried structured counseling to better understand the fault lines. Others interpret their travel choices, quiet trips, different cities, shorter stays, as the clearest signal of a private transition. Both interpretations are plausible. Neither can be proven from the outside. But together they sketch a portrait of two people trying to navigate a complicated crossroads without unnecessary harm. Of course, there are the familiar pushbacks. There are those who argue that the entire saga is an echo chamber built on coincidences, that the lack of shared posts is just a season of separate workloads, that schedules happen to clash when careers are moving fast. They point out how often couples in this field weather long distances and return stronger. They note how people misread ring choices or caption tones, and how an algorithm can erase photos from your feed faster than any heartbreak ever could. It's a reminder. Patterns don't always equal proof. Even so, the speculation refuses to loosen. The lawyer's alleged comment looms, reshaped with every retelling, polite in one version, pointed in another. There are versions where the third person is purely logistical, an assistant-like figure caught in a cyclone of gossip. There are versions where they're the symbol of an old disagreement. Each variation tells more about the storyteller than about Ozan and Sinem. What we know, truly know, remains what it was at the start, nothing official, just a string of conjectures trying to pass for certainty. If there's a lesson in all of this, it's that not every love story ends with fireworks. Sometimes routines unravel over months, and the bravest decision is to let go gently. That doesn't mean the feelings weren't real, or that the years weren't tender. It means life changed, work changed, and the two hearts at the center chose not to turn their private navigation into a spectacle. If they speak, they'll define the terms. If they stay quiet, the rest is no one's business, no matter how loud the crowd gets. Until then, fans will reread their posts, the press will refresh headlines, and friends will keep managing invitations with care. The air around the couple is thick with unasked questions, and still, their work shines. That's not a contradiction, it's a choice. Focus can be a refuge. Craft can be a way to breathe. And in an industry that sells emotion, perhaps the real affection is shown in how they refuse to let a personal chapter devour the careers they've built. Here we are, then, back where we started, with a rumor, a silence, and two people known for showing restraint. The narrative could end tomorrow with a single message shared to millions, or it could drift for weeks without a landing. Whichever shape it takes, remember that scandal isn't the only lens. The ordinary truths, the tired evenings, the scheduling conflicts, the compromise that slowly runs out, are just as real. They rarely trend, but they often explain everything. We'll keep watching with the same patience that Ozan Baba and Sinem Unsal seem determined to show. If events bring clarity, you'll hear it here. If nothing changes, that will be its own answer. For now, respect the quiet, notice the work, and resist the temptation to turn a whisper into a verdict. Sometimes what isn't said is exactly what deserves to remain unsaid. This brings us to the end of our video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel and share it with others who follow their stories. Thank you for watching, and take care until next time.